Super Rugby for 2021 is back. It's Super Rugby AU, the first round. 2 games on this Friday. New broadcaster over in Australia, so it should be a pretty interesting one to see how things go. It's a bit of a change. Force are back again. And yeah, man, I'm really looking forward to it. There's a bunch of young guys who've been named. I'll go through both the squads shortly. Some of the predictions on how these matches are supposed to go. And yeah, you guys can let me know your thoughts for this. I wanted to say weekends, but it's not the weekend. It's Friday. Friday games. The first one is the traditional Queensland-New South Wales rivalry. That's the Reds and the Waratahs getting underway 7:45 East Coast time over in Australia, which makes that 9:45 over here in New Zealand, which is, it's getting late. But we'll manage that. You're not going to be able to tear me away from the TV for this one. The Reds have had a little bit of disruption in their build-up, and that Liam Wright got injured about a week ago, so he's out for a fairly extended term. Although if there's one area that you're going to suffer an injury, maybe your loose forwards is not such a bad one, because there seems to be plenty of depth in that area. Also, Paenga Mosa is injured. Lukan Salakai-Aloto is injured. And maybe worst of all, in terms of getting the hype train going for Super Rugby AU, Suliasi Vunivalu has been stood down for a week, fined like 10 grand for an altercation that he had, I think, with a security guard at a pub or something like that. So, yeah, not the best news for the Reds to get the season underway. Hopefully, Brad Thorne has had a hard word with him, and hopefully his debut is just delayed. Because, yeah, I think we're all looking forward to seeing what he can do. That being said, the lineup that they've named is Dane Zander, Alex Murphy, and Feo Fotuaika. That's the starting lineup for the Reds in terms of the front row. So another big name that you notice is missing there is Taniela Tupou. He is in the squad, but he is starting on the bench, so maybe he's a bit of a strike weapon for some tired legs. I wouldn't imagine they will keep him too deep into the game. I would imagine he'll come on relatively early. Blythe and Uru are your locks. Scott Young, McCrate, and Harry Wilson are the loosies. And that's what I mean. But even if you lose Liam Wright, you've still got 3 very talented loose forwards there. Expect to see Harry Wilson get through a lot of carries in this game. That tends to be what he does. Tate McDermott's number 9, and he's been, I would say, probably like the most lively of the Aussie halfbacks last year. He wasn't quite favoured by the Wallabies, but he's certainly a good little sniping runner. He keeps the defences on their toes. And yeah, with James O'Connor, they're building a pretty familiar partnership because they've been at it for a long time. I know Nick White's the preferred guy at Wallaby level, but at Super Rugby level, Tate McDermott has looked the business. James O'Connor's captain, he's 10. So he's going to continue that role. Hamish Stewart and Hunter Paisami again. It's a familiar midfield. Stewart gets through a lot of work defensively. He doesn't look like he should. I still can't believe my eyes, but he does. Dalgunu and Pataya are on the wing, so that's an absolutely lethal attacking combination with those two guys. And Jock Campbell is there at fullback. The rest of the bench, there's a few debutants. Sarobi's on the bench. But yeah, we'll see how they go. For the Waratahs, Angus Bell starting at loose head, and he'll be pretty glad he's not up against Tupou to start with anyway, because he gave Angus Bell a real hard time when they met in Super Rugby AU last year. Horton and Harry Johnson-Holmes. So that's actually a pretty useful looking front row, man. I really rate Harry Johnson-Holmes going forward. He's still very young, can play both sides of the scrum. I do look forward, and I know Angus Bell, got done over that. I don't think it was the last time they played the Reds, but the first time they played them in Super Rugby AU last year. I still think he's learning as well and doing a good job, really good around the park. Caird and Wetton is an all-new lock-and combo for the Waratahs, 2 of their acquisitions over the break. Harris, Tizano, and Dempsey are your loosies, so you probably give that one to the Reds on paper anyway, because they've certainly got a lot more experience. Jake Gordon is the captain for the Tars this year at number 9, so he'll be, I would imagine, playing quite a few minutes. I don't know that they would substitute him until maybe 70 plus, but we'll see. Will Harrison is another guy I'm excited to see get more game time. I know the pecking order seems to be James O'Connor, then Noah Lolosio, and then maybe even Reece Hodge at 10. I reckon Harrison, man, he looks the business. Him and Lolosio are going to have quite the battle going forward to see who gets that number 10 jersey for the Tars. Not for the Tars, for the Wallabies. Walton and Parise are the midfield, and Parise is going to be up against his old club, so that's going to be an interesting battle. Remember, he ditched the Reds to go to Rugby League, then ended up having a drug scandal going to France, and then coming back to Rugby Union in Australia with the Tars, so great to see him. James Rams, one to look out for, a bit underrated, but very solid winger. Newsom and Jack Maddox is there at fullback. Still a bit of defensive frailties in Jack Maddox's game, but hopefully he is safe under the high ball. Nawani Wase is on the bench, the new signing Poreke, Tetra Faulkner. So, yeah, it's still a pretty young side, but so is the Reds one. The Reds have been playing with a young side for years. So it's two young sides against each other. It's that Queensland and New South Wales rivalry, so I am looking forward to that one. The bookies have got the Reds by 3 at home, and the rugby forecast algorithm has them by... did I say 8 or 3? The bookies is 8, the algorithm is 3. So either way, the Reds are favourites going into that one. For the next game, which is the Force and the Brumbies, it's on pretty late. They only listed the East Coast time. I'm assuming it's like 3 hours. It would be like 7 o'clock on the West Coast. You guys let me know. It says 10 o'clock East Coast time. Which is about midnight over here. Which is committing to a game till about 2 o'clock in the morning if I watch that. I'm still torn as to whether watch it live or on demand. We'll see. But it's going to be fantastic to see how these Force guys go, because boy have they made some signings. Of all the Super Rugby teams, they certainly made the biggest moves in the off-season. And they probably needed to, right? Because they're competing at Super Rugby level now, and they had to, get the squad together on pretty short notice last season from Rapid Rugby over to Super Rugby. So they've made some good moves. They've signed some of the former guys from the likes of the Brumbies and the Hawares, so I'm very keen to see how well they gel. For the Brumbies, it's a lot more stable lineup, and they are the favourites going into the competition proper. So for the Force, you got new signing Tom Robertson there, Kaitu'u and Medrano, so that's a new front row, especially with the Hawares tight head and the Waratahs loose head, but they're all Force guys now. Thrush and my Force favourite Fergus Lee Warner are there in the locks. I knew nothing about Fergus Lee Warner last year, but now I know him very well. He gets through a ton of work. He gets through heaps of carries, makes loads of tackles. They never call upon him to do much at line-out time. That seems to be mostly the business of Thrush. But, man, Fergus Lee Warner, I see great things in his future, and I hope he has a good game. Lazana, the new signings on the blind side. Koteka is on the open side, and Bryn Stander, who was impressive at number 8 for the Force last year, is there as well. Nice ball-carrying player. Pryor, the captain's at 9. Now, him being at 9 means Kubeli, the new signing, is on the bench, and I think that's probably going to be the way it goes for the Force this season. If you're a Argentinian fan looking to get behind the Force this year, you'll likely see Kubeli ride the pine while Pryor, who's the captain, starts the games, I would imagine. Lance is 10, which means there's no spot for Domingo Miotti. That's the most disappointing thing for me this game. But, I mean, I reckon Miotti will get some games once he's had a bit more time to settle in. Personally, I can't see Lance keeping the 10 jersey from Miotti for the entire season, but I do like Jono Lance as well, so either way, I hope he has a good game too. Godwin and new partner Kurandrani are the midfield. That's pretty useful. New signing from the Brumbies, so he's up against his old club. Braki is on the wing alongside Ross, and I think they deployed Braki in the midfield mostly last year from memory. Ralston's got some wheels, and Leinster veteran and Irish legend Rob Kearney is there at fullback, so there'll be a lot of eyes on him in this game as well. They got Richard Kahui on the bench, Andrew Reedy, Greg Holmes. It's a fair bit of depth in the Force squad for 2021. For the Brumbies, as I said, it's pretty familiar looking. It's pretty familiar. Fainga is the hooker, and he gets a lot of tries, remember, from that Brumbies maul. He's got Slipper and Alan Alatoa, who is captain on either side of him. Their front row will be looking to get on top. So Robertson and Medrano are going to have their hands full, but they're good scrummages as well. Swain and Neville are the locks. Valtini is a big ball-carrying number 6. So Lazana or Stander or Koteka is going to have to be on their game, because he's had a real good run of without getting injured. So if he can have another year like that. I see good things in his future too. Jerome Brown and Pete Samu are the other guys in the back row. Pete Samu still doesn't get a quite good look in. I mean, he's not like Harry Wilson in terms of just being an out-and-out ball carrier. I know Wilson's got some skills as well, but I would rate maybe Pete Samu is the best ball handling number 8 in Australia at the moment. He's very good. Nick White is a safe guy to have at number 9. He'll certainly keep the Force guys on their toes with his kicking, but Rob Kearney is renowned for being very aware at the back with his positioning. Lolosio, like I mentioned, is there at 10, and as I mentioned, him and Will Harrison have got a good battle for the future of that 10 jersey in Australia. Simone and Ikitau are the midfield, so a little bit inexperienced with Ikitau, but he's got some big shoes to fill with Kurandrani having left. Hansen and Muirhead are the wings. Muirhead had a good season last year, and Tom Banks, very exciting guy to have at fullback. McInerney's on the bench, Kusak's on the bench, Lonergan, and the Brumbies are 6-point favourites with the bookies and 10-point favourites with the algorithm. So, yep, we haven't seen any games yet. Everyone's got no wins, no losses. But, man, it is bloody great to see this competition getting back underway. Great to see so many signings for some of the teams. Great to see so many young guys coming through. There's certainly some guys in those squads that I'm not all that familiar with, just like I was with a lot of the Force squad last year, but I know them better than I did. So, very keen to see how they go. I know these games are on Stan Sports in Australia. I know it's on Sky Sports over here in New Zealand. I haven't seen about a UK broadcast as yet. Some people have been asking. In other countries, I'm not sure. So check with your local... I checked ESPN Plus, who had it last year. They still don't have the games listed as of Thursday as I record this. So hopefully they'll come through with a last-minute deal. Otherwise, we'll have to wait and see. I know Stan is doing like a free trial. But check with Stan on their website for any details of that if you want to give it a crack. I'm not sure if it's VPN-able. If you've got a VPN, you may be able to jump onto Stan. I'm not sure, but it's worth investigating if you want to see the games. Anyway, you guys let me know your thoughts on these games. How do you think they're going to go? Are you back in the Brumbies and the Reds like the bookies and the algorithm are? Or do you think a youthful Tars or an experienced Force side may be able to get an upset? Just glad to have these games back. You guys take care. Talk to you again soon. See you later.